Welcome back to Talk Tickers, where we deep dive into earnings calls to uncover hidden gems and, give you the insights you need to be a better investor.
Right. And today we're tackling Alaska Air Group's Q4 2024 earnings call.
And it is a wild one.
Oh, yeah.
They had quite a year. I mean, grounding a big chunk of their fleet and still ending with record profits. It's a real comeback story.
It is a comeback story and a good one, too.
So before we go deep, let's give everyone a quick rundown of how they did.
Okay, sounds good. So Alaska Air Group crushed their earnings estimates, reporting an adjusted EPS.
EPS.
Yeah, earnings per share for those tuning in for the first time of 97 cents for the quarter.
Okay, and what about the full year?
Huge $4.87 EPS, which again smashed analyst expectations. Plus, they snagged a 7.1% adjusted pre-tax margin for 2024.
Not bad at all.
Not bad at all, especially when you consider that whole grounding debacle with their Boeing 737 MAX aircraft.
Yeah, that fiasco cost them a pretty penny, right?
An estimated $200 million to be precise. But here's the real kicker. Without that grounding their legacy, Alaska Air Group would have boasted the best profit margin in the whole industry.
Wow, the best in the entire industry.
Yeah.
That speaks volumes about the resilience of their business model.
Yeah, they definitely know how to weather a storm, and it looks like they're sharing the wealth with their employees, too.
That's right. Alaska and Horizon employees are getting a record bonus payout this year, over $300 million, which translates to 6 weeks of extra pay.
6 weeks?
6 weeks.
That's incredible.
It is huge.
Yeah.
Do you think that level of employee investment is sustainable, especially with all the cost pressures airlines are dealing with right now?
It's definitely a bold move, and it'll be fascinating to see how it all shakes out in the long run, but it shows just how much they value their workforce, and that often speaks to a company's culture.
Yeah, for sure. And don't forget, they're planning to roll out this bonus plan to Hawaiian Airlines employees next year.
Oh, yeah, the Hawaiian Airlines acquisition, that was a big one.
A big one. How's the integration going so far? Any bumps in the road?
Smooth sailing so far. In fact, Hawaiian Airlines actually posted a record profit in December.
Wow.
Yeah, and they're projected to stay profitable for the rest of 2025. That's pretty impressive considering it's still early days in the merger process.
Yeah, no kidding. It sounds like the merger is already paying dividends,
Yeah.
but are there any potential downsides or risks that they haven't fully addressed yet?
Well, whenever you merge two large companies, there are always going to be some growing pains, cultural differences, system clashes, potential redundancies. It can all create a headache.
Right.
But so far, Alaska Air Group seems to be handling the transition pretty smoothly.
Okay, so let's unpack some of the specific factors that fueled Alaska Air Group's remarkable year. One thing that caught my eye was their hub banking strategy. What exactly is that, and why is it so important to their success?
So hub banking is all about optimizing their flight schedules to really maximize connecting passenger growth.
Okay.
Think of it like choreographing waves of arrivals and departures at their hub airports like Seattle and Portland. This allows for smooth and efficient connections, basically turning those hubs into well-oiled connecting machines.
Makes sense. So instead of just relying on passengers starting or ending their trips in those cities, they're attracting a lot of connecting traffic.
Precisely.
But is there anything special about their approach? What makes their hub banking strategy so effective?
They've been super strategic about route selection and flight timing to create this really efficient flow of passengers through their hubs.
Yeah.
And they haven't skimped on technology and infrastructure investments to support this strategy. It's not just about having tons of flights. It's about having the right flights at the right times.
It's like a perfectly synchronized dance.
It is.
And it looks like it's paying off big time, especially with their new Seattle to Tokyo route. I heard those early booking numbers are through the roof, and not just from their usual West Coast crowd.
Yeah, you're right. A large portion of those bookings are coming from passengers connecting from other parts of the U.S., which tells us that their Seattle hub is becoming a more and more attractive option for international travelers.
So they're not just a regional player anymore. They're evolving into a true national force in the airline industry.
That's the idea.
And speaking of attracting passengers, another area where they're excelling is in the demand for their premium cabins. It seems people are willing to pay a premium for that extra leg room and comfort.
Absolutely. And Alaska Air Group is capitalizing on this trend. They've seen double-digit revenue growth in their premium cabins and have been strategically expanding their premium class seating.
So they're giving people what they want, and it's working. Now, what about corporate travel? I know that segment took a major hit during the pandemic, but has it fully bounced back?
It's definitely on the upswing. They reported some seriously impressive revenue growth from corporate travel in December. And the outlook for 2025 is very positive, Looks like business travel is back in a big way.
That's great news for the airline industry as a whole.
Hmm.
But what is Alaska Air Group doing to capture an even bigger slice of that corporate travel pie? What's their game plan?
Well, they're laser focused on building a reputation for reliability, convenience, and a top-notch customer experience. They're investing in lie-flat seats on transcontinental flights, expanding their airport lounges, and forming partnerships with other airlines to broaden their network.
So it's all about creating a seamless and enjoyable experience for business travelers.
That's the goal.
So far, we've touched on their financial performance, the Hawaiian Airlines merger their hub banking strategy, and the resurgence of both premium and corporate travel. What other factors are contributing to their success?
One word: loyalty.
Loyalty.
Their loyalty programs are a cornerstone of their strategy, and they're constantly innovating to make them even more enticing.
Yeah, loyalty programs are like the golden ticket to repeat business, right?
Yeah.
Get people hooked on those miles and they'll keep coming back for more.
You got it. And Alaska Air Group has been a master at creating programs that people genuinely love. They recently unveiled a new premium credit card that's generating a ton of buzz.
What's so special about this new card? What kind of perks are we talking about?
Well, it offers a generous sign-up bonus, a high earn rate on Alaska purchases, and a free checked bag on every flight. It also comes with some sweet travel perks like lounge access and priority boarding.
Nice, so it's really geared towards their most frequent flyers.
Exactly. Reward your loyal customers and they become even more loyal.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, what about their push into Hawaii? Aren't they facing stiff competition from established Hawaiian Airlines?
They are, but they've been clever about tailoring their loyalty program to the Hawaiian market.
Okay.
They launched a program called Wakai, specifically designed for Hawaii residents.
Wakai?
Yeah, it's modeled after their wildly successful Club 49 program in Alaska.
Interesting. Why has Club 49 been such a hit in Alaska? And how are they replicating that success in the Hawaiian market?
Club 49 is all about giving Alaska residents those special perks and discounts, making them feel valued and appreciated. They're using the same playbook with Wakai and Hawaii, offering things like discounted fares, bonus miles, and even free checked bags for inter-island flights.
That's a brilliant strategy. They're not just trying to win on price, they're creating a sense of community and offering those exclusive benefits that really resonate with the locals.
You got it. They're playing the long game, and it seems to be working.
Now, let's not forget about the challenges they're facing. One area where they're anticipating some pressure is on the cost side.
Yeah, cost pressures are a fact of life for every business these days, especially in the airline industry.
True. So what are some of the specific factors driving up their costs?
Well, fuel prices are always a wild card, and they've been creeping up lately. On top of that, they recently negotiated a new contract with their flight attendants, which will increase their labor costs.
Right. Investing in your workforce is crucial, but it does come with a price tag.
It does.
How do they plan to manage these cost increases while staying profitable?
They're really focused on improving productivity and squeezing out efficiencies across their operations. They're also hoping to realize some cost synergies from the Hawaiian Airlines merger, which means finding ways to save money by combining resources and eliminating any redundancies.
So it's a multi-pronged approach.
Yeah.
They're not just slashing costs. They're finding ways to do more with less.
Exactly.
Now, what about their overall guidance for the future? What are they projecting for the coming year?
They've provided some pretty specific guidance for both the first quarter and the full year of 2025.
Okay, let's hear it. What are the key numbers investors should be keeping an eye on?
All right, so for the first quarter, they're projecting a loss per share of 50 to 70 cents.
A loss?
Yeah, but don't freak out. That's pretty typical for the airline industry in Q1. It's generally their slowest season.
Okay, so it's a seasonal thing. Got it.
Yeah.
But what about the full year? Are they still expecting to be in the black?
Oh, yeah, definitely. They're actually forecasting an EPS of over $5.75 for the full year.
That's impressive. What makes them so confident they could hit that $5.75 EPS target? What are they banking on?
They're betting on sustained strong demand for travel, particularly in those premium and corporate segments. They're also counting on their hub banking strategy to keep driving passenger growth, and they believe they can manage their costs effectively.
So they're optimistic about the future, but also realistic about the challenges.
Exactly. They're not sugarcoating anything. They acknowledge the risks, but they're also excited about the opportunities.
Sounds like a pretty balanced approach.
I think so.
Well, this has been a really insightful look at Alaska Air Group's Q4 2024 earnings call. So far, they're clearly a company on the move, and it's going to be exciting to see what they achieve in the coming year.
I agree. They've got a lot of momentum, and they're making some really savvy moves.
But before we get too carried away, it's time for our This Is Not Financial Advice segment.
The part where we let loose and brainstorm some wild but potentially plausible trade ideas.
That's right. So based on everything we've discussed today, what's your wild card prediction for Alaska Air Group? What's something they could do that would really shake things up in the industry?
Okay, how about this? What if, and this is a big what if, Alaska Air Group goes all in on international expansion and announces a surprise acquisition of a smaller international carrier?
Wow, that's a bold move. What kind of carrier are you thinking of?
I'm not going to name names, but picture a carrier that complements their existing network and opens up new markets, maybe in Europe or Asia.
Okay, I see where you're going with this.
Yeah.
It would definitely launch them into a whole new league.
It would. They'd go from being a major player in North America to a global force in the airline industry.
It would be a game changer.
Yeah, a truly global reach.
Oh, but wouldn't that be a pretty risky move? Integrations are never a walk in the park, especially on an international scale.
Yeah.
We've seen how much effort it's taken to integrate Hawaiian Airlines.
Sure, there are risks involved, but they've got a proven track record of successful integrations.
That's true.
They just might pull it off, and the potential rewards are enormous.
I like it. It's a bold and audacious move, but not entirely out of the question.
Yeah.
And it would definitely shake things up in the airline world. But remember, everyone, this is just for fun.
Yeah, purely hypothetical.
Don't make any rash trades based on our crazy ideas.
Always do your own research and talk to a financial advisor before making any investment decisions.
Well, that's a wrap for part one of our deep dive into Alaska Air Group's Q4 2024 earnings call. Be sure to join us next time as we continue to explore their strategy, their challenges, and their outlook for the future.
We'll be back with more insights and analysis, so don't miss it.
Until next time, happy investing.
Welcome back to Talk Tickers. We're digging deeper into Alaska Air Group's Q4 2024 earnings call, and so far it's been a fascinating ride.
We've covered a lot of ground, haven't we? From their strong financial performance to those big moves like the Hawaiian Airlines integration and their strategy for attracting both leisure and corporate travelers.
Not to mention those generous employee bonuses.
Oh yeah, those bonuses are a game changer. Speaking of which, I'm curious about the long-term implications of that move. Could this set a new standard for employee compensation in the airline industry? Will other airlines feel the pressure to follow suit?
It's certainly possible Alaska has always had a reputation for treating their employees well, but this takes it to a whole new level. If they can keep up this level of profit sharing while remaining competitive on fares, it could definitely force other airlines to rethink their compensation strategies.
It'll be interesting to watch how it all unfolds. But let's shift gears a bit and talk about their network strategy. We touched on their hub banking approach, but I want to get into the nitty-gritty. What are some of the key routes and markets they're focusing on?
Well, they're really doubling down on their West Coast presence with a strong emphasis on Seattle and Portland as their main hubs.
Right.
But they're also expanding their reach beyond the West Coast with new routes to destinations like Boston, New York, and even Tokyo.
That Tokyo route is a big deal, isn't it?
Yeah.
Their first foray into Asia, and it seems like they're aiming to capture a significant chunk of that trans-Pacific market.
Absolutely. And it's not just about connecting passengers from the West Coast to Asia. They're also targeting travelers from other parts of the country who might prefer a more convenient and efficient routing through Seattle.
So they're leveraging that Seattle hub to create a more competitive offering for trans-Pacific travel. Clever strategy. What about their domestic network? Any major changes there?
They're constantly tweaking their domestic network, adding and adjusting routes based on demand and competitive pressures. One interesting thing is their increased focus on connecting smaller cities to their hubs.
So it's like a spoken hub system.
Exactly. They're essentially building out a spoken hub system that lets them reach a wider geographic area.
It's like casting a wider net, bringing in passengers from all over and funneling them through those hubs. A classic strategy, but it seems to be working for them.
It is, and they're not just focused on quantity, they're paying attention to quality, too. They're investing in their onboard product, offering things like free Wi-Fi streaming entertainment, even upgraded snacks and beverages.
It's all about enhancing that customer experience, right? Make the journey more enjoyable, and people are more likely to choose Alaska over the competition.
Exactly. And it's not just about the onboard experience either. They're investing in their airport facilities too, with new lounges, upgraded gate areas, faster check-in processes.
A holistic approach to customer service.
Yes, they're thinking about every touch point in the travel journey and looking for ways to make it better.
What about the Hawaiian Airlines acquisition? How are they integrating the two brands and creating a seamless experience for passengers flying between the mainland and Hawaii?
Good question. They've been very careful about preserving the unique Hawaiian Airlines brand and culture while also finding ways to create synergies between the two airlines.
Synergies.
Yeah.
What does that look like in practice?
Well, they've implemented code sharing agreements, which allow passengers to book flights on either airline and earn miles in either loyalty program. They've also streamlined their baggage handling processes and launched joint marketing campaigns.
So they're making it easier for passengers to move seamlessly between Alaska and Hawaii, regardless of which airline they're flying.
Exactly. And they're also leveraging their combined network to offer more destinations and more convenient flight times.
It sounds like they're being very strategic and thoughtful about this integration.
They are.
Now, one thing we haven't talked much about is their fleet.
Yeah.
What's the state of their aircraft, and are there any major investments or upgrades on the horizon?
They've got a relatively young and fuel-efficient fleet, which is a big plus in today's environment, of rising fuel costs.
Right.
They've been steadily phasing out older planes and replacing them with newer models like the Boeing 737 MX and the Airbus A321neo.
Those are some of the most advanced and fuel-efficient aircraft out there.
They are. And they've also been investing in retrofitting their existing planes with new interiors, updated entertainment systems, and more comfortable seating.
So they're not just buying new planes, they're making sure their existing fleet is top-notch.
Exactly.
And now let's talk about competition. The airline industry is notoriously competitive. Who are Alaska's biggest rivals, and how are they positioning themselves to stay ahead of the pack?
They face competition from both legacy carriers like United Delta and American, and low-cost carriers like Southwest and Spirit.
So they're squeezed from both sides.
Yeah.
How do they differentiate themselves from both the big guys and the budget airlines?
They're trying to find that sweet spot between offering competitive fares and providing a premium customer experience.
That's a tough needle to thread.
It is. They're not trying to be the cheapest airline, but they're also not trying to be the most luxurious.
So they're aiming for that middle ground, affordable luxury.
Yeah, something like that. They're targeting travelers who are willing to pay a little extra for a better experience, but are still price conscious.
That's a smart strategy. It lets them appeal to a wider range of passengers, but it also means they need to be really sharp about managing their costs to maintain that balance.
Absolutely. And that's something we'll be exploring in more detail in the next part of our deep dive. We'll be taking a closer look at their cost management strategies, their financial outlook, and we'll even throw in another outrageous trade idea for you to consider.
Stay tuned, folks. We'll be right back with more insights and analysis on Alaska Air Group. Welcome back to Talk Tickers. We're wrapping up our deep dive into Alaska Air Group's Q4 2024 earnings call. And it's been a wild ride, hasn't it?
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground from their financial performance and their big acquisitions to their expanding network and those customer-focused initiatives.
And let's not forget about those generous employee bonuses. They're really setting a new standard for the industry.
But before we wrap things up, I want to touch on one more important aspect, their commitment to sustainability.
Oh yeah, sustainability is not just a buzzword anymore. It's a core value for a lot of companies these days, especially in the airline industry, which, has a big environmental footprint.
Absolutely. So how is Alaska Air Group approaching sustainability? What are they doing to lessen their impact on the environment?
They've actually been a leader in this space for a while now. They were one of the first airlines to invest in those fuel-efficient aircraft, and they've implemented a whole bunch of operational initiatives to reduce their fuel consumption and emissions.
Like what?
Specifically,
Well, they've optimized their flight routes to cut down on flight time and fuel burn. They've implemented single-engine taxiing procedures to save fuel on the ground, and they've even partnered with airports to use electric ground equipment.
it sounds like they're really thinking outside the box to minimize their environmental impact. But what about sustainable fuels? I know that's a big topic in the airline industry these days.
Oh, yeah, they're definitely on board with that. They've been actively investing in research and development of sustainable aviation fuels, and they've committed to using a certain percentage of sustainable fuels in their operations by a specific date.
That's good to hear. It shows they're taking this seriously and making concrete plans to reduce their reliance on those fossil fuels. But sustainability is more than just the environment, right? It's also about social and economic responsibility.
You're right. And Alaska Air Group seems to get that. They've been recognized for their commitment to diversity and inclusion, their support of local communities, and their ethical business practices.
So they're not just chasing profits, they're trying to be a good corporate citizen as well. Now let's get back to their financial performance. We've already talked about their strong earnings and their positive outlook for 2025. But what are some of the risks or challenges that could potentially derail their success?
Well, like any airline, they're vulnerable to a bunch of external factors that are out of their control. Things like economic downturns, geopolitical events, and fuel price volatility.
Those are definitely factors that could impact their bottom line. But what about internal challenges? Are there any areas where they need to improve or maybe some weaknesses in their strategy?
One potential challenge is their reliance on the West Coast market.
Right.
While they've been expanding beyond the West Coast, a big chunk of their revenue still comes from that region.
So if there was an economic slowdown or some other event that hit the West Coast particularly hard, it could have a significant impact on their earnings.
Exactly. Another potential challenge is their relatively small size compared to some of those bigger airlines. They might have a harder time competing on price and network reach against those industry giants.
Those are valid concerns, but it sounds like they're aware of these challenges and are taking steps to mitigate the risks. They're diversifying their network, expanding into new markets, and focusing on creating that premium customer experience that sets them apart from the competition.
Right. And don't forget about their track record of innovation and adaptability. They've proven they can navigate tough times and come out stronger on the other side.
Well said. So overall, it seems like Alaska Air Group is in a pretty good spot. They've got a lot going for them, and they seem well positioned for continued growth and success.
Definitely a company to watch.
Now for our final, this is not financial advice segment.
The part where we let our imaginations run wild and come up with some out there but potentially plausible trade ideas.
All right, so based on everything we've learned about Alaska Air Group, what's your wild card prediction? What could they do that would really shake things up?
Okay, get this. What if Alaska Air Group teams up with a major cruise line to create a seamless air and sea travel experience?
Whoa, that's an interesting idea,
Yeah,
especially given their strong presence in Alaska, which is a huge cruise destination.
exactly. They could offer package deals including flights, cruises, and even shore excursions, all booked through one platform. They can even create a loyalty program that spans both air and sea travel.
It'd be like a one-stop shop for travelers looking for a hassle-free Alaska adventure.
Right, they could call it the ultimate Alaska experience.
I love it. It's a bold move and definitely not impossible. It'd be a brilliant way to capitalize on their strengths in air travel and the Alaska market. Plus, it would open up a whole new revenue stream.
It would be a game changer.
But remember, everyone, this is just for fun.
Pure speculation.
Don't make any investment decisions based on our wild ideas.
Always do your own research and talk to a financial advisor before making any investment decisions.
And that wraps up our deep dive into Alaska Air Group's Q4 2024 earnings call. We hope you found it informative and insightful.
It's been fun breaking it all down with you.
Until next time, happy investing.